And I'm Melanie.
The New Trials of Cardcaptor Sakura, Sharon and Friends is a popular ongoing fanfic by Wishlove, and it's based off of Clamp's Cardcaptor Sakura. We are in hiatus mode. We went through all of the wonderful comments that Diana left us, and just when we thought that we were just going to lay low, our wonderful, beautiful Mesel posted her Kindle notes for Arc 1 and 2. And so fun fact, I was commenting on it. I'm like, oh, it's so cool that we have like different points of views for people in the community. And then I use the eye emoji, and the millennial is like, oh, I see you. It's like, I acknowledge you. And then Melanie, who's closer to Gen Z than I am, just took that and ran. And
I thought she meant like hint, we want you on the podcast. So me, just being not very subtle person that I am, I was like, hint. But also, so anyways, so I can't even talk. So that's how this came to fruition.
Yeah. At first it's like, oh, this is going to be some nice bedtime reading. But when Melanie put it on the table, it's like, we can make this into an episode. I'm like, you're right. We can make this into an episode. And yes, the PDF is there on the Facebook group for anybody to read. But I was reading through it today, and I'm like, these are a lot of fun quotes that we didn't even pick up on. And it's like, I would love to discuss them.
Yeah, and I think it's always fun just to revisit, like you said earlier, just other people's point of views as they read. Because we had talked about this a couple episodes ago about how we all kind of take notes when a new chapter drops, and it's like our very first impressions. And these are hers. These are Mesel's first impression of each chapter that she reads. And I'm just so excited because I haven't read it. I just wanted to be surprised.
Okay, so do you want to volley back and forth, chapter by chapter?
Yeah, that works.
Okay, I'll start. Okay,
Okay.
so she says, disclaimer on some of the inconsistencies I pointed out from the early chapters, since there's a lot of early versions of New Trials lore that have changed as Wish-chan wrote the story. Ain't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about some of those moments on Yahoo Groups /Groups.io too. Don't take them too seriously. Ha ha ha. Okay. So, Arc 1, Chapter 1, The New Beginning. This is Sharon speaking. You can have this card. I have no use for cards anymore, he said, handing over the new card. It's okay, you earned it, but this whole thing is so confusing. I don't understand what's happening. Neither do I. Sharon read the letters on the card, the knife. Now, Mesel asks, did he keep the knife? Now, considering that the card reappears in chapter 23, I think Wish-chan kind of forgot that that she had Sakura give Sharon the card, because when it does come back, I don't think it was Sharon who activated it.
He does, doesn't he?
Oh, he does?
Because he uses it to throw at the dartboard during the circus, right?
I don't remember.
Chapter 23, Kaido Magician and the Diamond Necklace. Yeah, I think he uses it to... Or did Sakura lend it to him again? Shoot, now I'm double guessing myself.
Yeah.
Diana, Mesel, Carolina, somebody.
Because I know that if we re-listen to our podcast episode, we talk about the knife, that's for sure. And we're like, oh, wow, it came back. And I think we're just so shocked that such an OG card came back. We just forgot to check or forgot to recognize who was the one who activated it.
Because I know she definitely gives him the flower to do the flower tricks. But I want to say, and please do correct me, everybody, but I think Sharon uses the knife. I'm pretty sure, but someone please correct me.
Maybe I should just dive into the episode and go to the End for Dark Forces corner And maybe that'll answer my question. Okay. Go for it.
Okay. So next up, we have Chapter 2, Mysterious Past. Later, they'll have to face those forces 10 times more powerful than the objects. Will they be able to overcome misery, heartbreak, pain, anger, and hate? I'm still testing their powers. And then Mesel's comment was possible reference to the emotions, question mark.
We've talked about this, and I think we've pretty much consensus that yes, it's definitely a reference to the emotions.
But however, you did mention that they weren't capitalized.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, but I agree. I really do think it's a foreshadow to the emotions. There's so much that I do know. They use Western magic, so powerful, more powerful than mine, maybe more powerful than Cowreed's Eastern and Western combined. And Mesel said, do the Dark Ones use Western magic? Question mark. They're Chinese with roots in Japan.
Well, we saw Aaron doing like the chemistry experiment. So I don't really see like chemists in the Lee clan. And even though they're Chinese with roots in Japan, I think they've been all over the world. And and that's just them. So speaking on behalf of like Aaron and Erica, I think they've picked up like on a lot of things, and they've combined a lot of things to get to where they are.
Well, and if we go off the theory that they use dark and light magic, there's a dark twin and a light twin, think about it. What's present in our everyday life, anywhere and everywhere you go, day and night, dark and light. Okay. Nadesco and I have barely managed to bind down the forces with the help of Cowreed's spirit. And Mesel commented, Cowreed's spirit? Is this more figurative than literal?
I never even, that never crossed my mind.
Yeah, that might be a question we need to ask Wish-Chan, because one of our questions for her and this next Q&A is how they were able to seal, for lack of a better word, the dark forces.
Yeah.
So maybe she'll be able to kind of clear this up of they used Cowreed's, maybe they borrowed Cowreed's contract magic for a little bit, or maybe it was just, I guess we'll have to ask. She also said maybe a reference to the 5-4 scroll.
I think it's a reference to the 5-4 scroll.
And then our youngest would be more powerful than we ever were if they find the true key. And then Mesel commented, is the true key the sealing wand or something else?
See, that just went over my head. I thought it's the true key of find resolution. I thought key was more figurative rather than literal.
If they find the true key. Yeah, I guess I always thought figuratively as well, but it could very well be a reference to the actual sealing key, is what I would think.
Yeah, that's really cool. Chapter 3 of Ghost Statues and Quarrels. Yes, father was murdered far from his family. Mesel asks, how did Shara know his father was murdered? Or did he say this for dramatics? Lol. I think it's family lore. The Lee clan will talk about it, and then he picks up from it. So I think this is just information he got from his family.
Although it is kind of interesting, now that I'm kind of musing about it for a minute, that they say Leon disappeared, right? They don't use the word murdered, whereas they use the word murdered for Ryurin. But I think it's interesting because even though he was sick with the plague, he does get murdered in the Dragon Realms by is it Ryuchi or the other one, Ryota? One of them, right?
It's been too long since I revisited that chapter. I know that Sakura has a moment with him, but I don't remember his end of days.
Because I think she finds him just after he's been wounded, basically, like mortally wounded by the Dark One. I'm pretty sure it's Aaron's dad. I think. Gosh, I know everyone's like screaming listening right now, but yeah, I'm pretty sure. So I do think it's interesting that they use the word murder for him, but disappear for Leon. So there might be something to that.
Well, that kind of reminds me of like Stranger Things. Spoilers for Stranger Things. Skip ahead. Yada yada yada. So the basically, I won't get into details, but there's like certain characters who die, and then there's one character who is presumed dead. And when the press releases came out, and like, so it's like you talk about blah blah's death, and blah blah's disappearance or fate. So they don't like, so the third person, they never claimed him as dead, and then in the next season he's like alive, but yeah. So I think it's strange because like later on we're gonna get a reference to Riren's body, and then Mesel's like, well, where'd that come from if he was murdered right away? So because they procured the body, then they knew that he was murdered. But with Leiyun, that was like kind of frozen in a block of ice. Body never came back, so he really did disappear, and there was never any confirmation of whether or not he was murdered.
Wow. Yep, that is a good. Yeah.
Thinking about this stuff on the fly, taking what we know, building on the questions.
The next up, we have Chapter 4, The Camping Trip. Parents, we don't have any, not since we were born. Only the servants. We never, and then Mesel said, we never see the twin servants, LOL. Are they actual servants or just cleaning people during the day?
That made me laugh so much because it's so true. It's like, we know that they definitely don't clean up after themselves. And it's like, you have Aaron in his fits and he'll just throw a glass of wine against the wall. And it's like, you don't see him cleaning up the pieces or anything like that. And they did confirm that they're servants, but no, it's like, oh, maybe the servant was the third voice. No.
Unless little Mooney Chan's in like a little like apron and she's cleaning up after them constantly, or they.
I think they're just cleaners, and when the twins aren't home, they do their thing. But it's kind of funny how Mesel just brings up the fact that we hear about the servants, so we don't see anybody doing anything. I like that.
And then next we have her saying, yet the enigma of her enchanting emerald eyes and the lithe form made him grasp his chest, where there should be a beating heart in a usual person. And Mesel asks, there's a lot of mentions about the twins not having a heart / their heart being still. That is interesting. Because then we know about Erika's history with heart stuff too, on top of that.
Yeah. It's like, I think that sentence just went over my head. It's like, I never realized that there were references, like, saying how heartless, like, mentioning how heartless there was. I never noticed until now.
I almost wonder if, if our theory's kind of correct that that the Dark Ones kind of possess the twins, of the generation, that I wonder if, like, a way they possess it is kind of like what they do with Tamayo and the Phantom. Like, maybe they kind of still their heart a little bit.
Yeah.
And so then maybe that's why, when Aaron breaks free, so to say, he's able to kind of be more himself, because then maybe his heart is actually his once more, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking it would be like a Grinch kind of effect, where his heart grows like 3 times.
Grinchy Aaron. I would draw that now.
That's what I was thinking about. It's like, oh, maybe he got his power, he got his control back, and his heart went back to normal.
And then she asks, how did it affect Aaron when he broke free? how will it affect Erika once the Dark Ones are defeated?
I would hope that it would revert to prepossession, and it's like, not to give Erika a sick heart or anything, but like, I hope after all of that hardship, they'll have normal hearts, and then they'll be able to live their lives as normal teens, and maybe, who knows, even find love and have children, because Aaron's like, no, it ends with us. There's going to be no more Changs. It's like, we're gonna end it here, but they have the right to fall in love and to have a family.
Yeah, I just know, like, even though Erika isn't one of my favorite characters, I would just be emotionally devastated if Wish Chan decides to kill her off at the end. Like, I will be not okay.
Oh, she's an OGOC. I can't see that happen. It's hard enough when Subaru left us.
Oh,
it's like,
God, don't even. I am...
Yeah. Oh my gosh. No, I don't know. If an OGOC were to like, kick the can, I don't want to think about that.
Yeah. She did say we're headed towards an epic tragedy, though. Those her words, not mine.
I don't know. I just hope epic tragedy means that like Sakura and Sharon can't be together yet, and then they'll get together in the epilogues. That's what's keeping us going.
Birthday bubble.
Okay, we're moving on to chapter 6, first meeting of rivals or allies. And Aaron fingered a bracelet on his left wrist, identical to the one Erika wore. And Mesel said, "The necklaces were bracelets first? Lol." I forgot about the bracelets. It's like, I say I think about the necklaces, but to be honest, I also forget about the necklaces, because like what really comes to mind are the earrings. And but there's that scene where like that we just covered in Arc 2 where Aaron tried to like take the necklace off, and it kind of retaliated against him, and that's how he lost control of the wave, and that's how Sakura and Sharon were able to like get free. So necklaces do play a part, but bracelets, I think this is probably what the first and last mention of them.
Yeah, and even because I think, didn't Diana look into it for us as well, and I think she couldn't find anything ever mentioned of it ever again. And I feel like I remember the necklaces just because it's an eyeball.
Yes.
So I think that's the only reason why I remember it. And I'm laughing just in case you guys, for whatever reason, don't know. I work in ophthalmology. My whole life is eyeballs. So anyways. So next up we have Chapter 7, Melody of Loneliness. Even before that, when he was 3, someone drew the white cloth over his father's body. And Mesel asked, how did they recover his body?
See, yes, good question. How did they recover his body? So maybe somebody just had to go to the Dragon Isles. That's where he was murdered, right? The Dragon Isles? Or...
Yes.
So somebody probably had to go to the Dragon Isles, and then they found him, and then they got the body back. Or maybe they have locating spells in the Lee clan, and that's how they found it and were able to bring it back.
My other thought is, Sakura's the one that finds him. They have that beautiful, heart-wrenching conversation that makes me cry every single time I read it, and he gives her the journal. And I also wonder if, because, we see that super emotional scene with her and Ryuren, then literally we cut back to Sharon for a while. And then when he emerges, Sakura's just there. And there's no explanation of how she got out of limbo. Yeah. She just happens to be there. So I almost wonder if maybe while she was in limbo, maybe she was the one that was able to get Ryuren at least out of limbo, and at least able to be like at the entrance of the Dragon Isles in that time for someone to come find him, maybe.
I like that theory.
So that's the only kind of guess, because in order for someone to find him, they would have had to go into limbo and find that specific limbo that he was stuck in.
Yeah.
So interesting, very interesting. And then next she asks, "Hey, Nadeshiko-chan, did you hear about the new transfer student in Seiju High?" called a short girl with auburn hair. And Mesel asked, "First appearance of Miara?"
I'm going to say yes.
Yes, and we actually did discuss that in our podcast.
Yes.
And then next up we have, "The enemy has reached Cloud first. The chosen ones have tarried too long. Now it is in the legendary foe's hands." And Mesel asked, "The Dark Ones got a hold of the Cloud first? Maybe it's more like they found a lead?" Question mark.
I think they found a lead. I don't remember what went on with Chloe back then, but
That was they were trying to find the Cloud book, and then they were like fighting, and then the Dark Ones got to the book first, basically.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then Mesel says, "Mooney-chan was really like, I don't know who the enemy figure is. Figure it out yourself." It's so funny.
Mooney-chan can be like, no help sometimes. Okay, Chapter 8, The Angel of Hollow's Eve. When do you think our full power will return? We are still weak, far from our original state of powers. And Mesel's comment is, the twins keep mentioning this in the beginning, that they were waiting for them to reach their full powers. Have they/Erica reached their full strength yet? I know that Erica does this really big thing in Arc 4, where a lot of it was really on her, and there's no way that she could have done something like that back in Arc 1. So their powers definitely grew as the story progressed. To question full strength, I'm not sure when we're going to know if that's going to be achieved.
Mm-hmm. But is any magician truly full strength if there's all these levels, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Always learning, always growing. But we can at least say that they've gotten way stronger as the arcs progressed.
For sure. Agreed. And then next up, we have Chapter 10, Icy Barriers. Then she saw someone with glossy brown hair and golden brown eyes. He stared at her for a moment, then gave her an evil smirk, turning his back on her and walking far away from her, leaving her. No! An icy barrier formed between him and her. And Mesel said, "This description caught me off guard, since Shaoran is usually described with amber eyes, lol."
I think Miss Chan probably got tired of the whole amber eye thing, so she paired gold and brown, and it's close enough.
Mm-hmm. Although I do notice there's a lot of fan arts out there where he has kind of like that golden, like wolf-like type eyes.
Yes. Moving on to Chapter 12, Till You Turn to Me. Without thinking, Nadeshiko's emerald eyes widened and flashed, and in a poof of fiery flames, the whip disappeared. In a nervous voice, she stammered, "See, I can be useful sometimes." And Mesel's like, "How did Nadeshiko do that?" And we're asking Wish Chan the exact same thing. So we're going to get an answer, and I wouldn't be surprised if Wish Chan has absolutely no idea and she like just makes something up in the spot. But that's okay. Whatever she tells us is going to be our new canon.
We don't question Goddess.
What was the extent of her powers outside of Second Sight? It's a good question. I don't know how to answer that.
I think some type of, however she was able to quote unquote seal the cards, but yeah, I'm interested to hear Wish Chan's answer.
Strange, but I don't remember having that necklace in my store, the salesman said when Sakura asked about it. And Mesel asks, "Didn't Kara sell him the necklace?" And then she asks, "Maybe the necklace teleported itself to different jewelry shops, lol." I can't see Kara parting with a 5-Force treasure that easily. I like the teleportation theory.
You know what? That kind of, and I'm sorry, another Harry Potter reference. I'm sorry, guys, but it reminds me of the Sword of Gryffindor. Like it only appears, and like I think we kind of talked about how, like, you know, maybe since it's the most elusive treasure, maybe it only appears when it's like really needed. But anyways, I made myself giggle at my Harry Potter reference in my head. Alrighty. Next up, we have Chapter 13, The Twisted Winter Concert. When they practiced against each other, Shaoran was always careful not to use his full strength. And Mesel said, I thought he and Meilin were almost equal in strength and skill, ?
So I was thinking about this question when I read it, and it's like, maybe they were indeed equal in strength and skill as 10-year-olds, but now that, like, puberty is pushing along and Shaoran is definitely more muscular and stronger, I think they've just gotten to a point where Shaoran is just stronger than Meilin.
Yeah. So coming from a medical standpoint, men, just how they're built and just how they are, men have more upper body strength. Where us women, we don't have a whole lot of upper body strength. Our strength is all in our legs and trunk area, because as you know, as women, we're the ones that carry the children, and we have to have wider hips in order to have the babies and all that stuff. So it kind of comes a biological thing too. Like Shaoran is going to have, you know, men bulk up, men get bigger, men get stronger, you know, upper body. Whereas as women, as we grow, it's our like legs and trunk area that tends to get stronger. So
Cool.
Anyways, medical tangent.
I like your medical tangents.
I haven't had one in a while. Let's see here. A voice from a distant, unknown place rasped, Dear ancestor of the powerful Forgotten Five, do you wonder who we are? And then Mesel says, I don't know what this means or who's speaking.
I don't know. It's probably Ryuichi and Risa making an appearance. It sounds a bit menacing.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, chapter 16, running out of time. So why did Nadeshiko-san send that parcel to Hong Kong? It must have been something important. And after he received it, he sent it to an address in New York. Why New York of all places? And Mesel asks, did Keisuke already own a place in New York? Was the key he was found with for his NYC residence? And so sidebar here, but there's this fascinating discussion going on the Facebook group at Diana, Mesel, and I are all like chiming in, and Mesel does this really, really cool thing where she like plots the events, the timeline. Yeah, the timeline of Keisuke, and we're all chiming in with our theories and stuff like that. So it's very long. We won't read it, but there's a lot of like interesting gems.
No, I'm kidding.
There's a lot of interesting gems. It's like basically the question is, so if Xing is in the laptop, does that mean that the Li clan knows that he's in possession of the sapphire ring? And then I'm like, well, maybe he's like a sleeper agent and they're not going after him because of his amnesia. And so that was a lot of fun, and it was a great conversation, and definitely brought me back to our Yahoo group days, that's for sure.
The days. The days.
Yeah. So if anybody's interested about Keisuke and his backstory, just go to the Facebook group, and there's a lot of rich conversation.
All right. And then next up we have Chapter 17, A Small World After All. Miho unlocks her key using the power of darkness here, yet I think it's earth or fire in later chapters.
That I don't remember. I know that she does use darkness for sure in that chapter. I don't remember it changing, but that'll be like something interesting to track.
I feel like you, because I feel like, I don't know if it's in the arc 3 that I'm doing now, but I know she definitely says Earth.
Hmm.
So I remember going Earth in her voice. But about the fire and dark, hmm. Yeah, I know it definitely switches to Earth later, for sure. I'm like 100%. 'Cause I remember yelling out Earth in her voice. So interesting. Good pickup, Mesel. Then next up we have, but I couldn't get him to cut his glossy hair off and spike it with gel. Don't you think he would look cute that way? And then Marcel said, the irony that Miho thinks this.
I love it. It's like we all picked up on it. We all chuckled over it. I'm glad that Ariel never went that route, because Kai would be like so mad. Kai, if Kai saw Ariel with his look, he would just like transform into Nikkei way earlier. It's like, ugh, I can't be looking like that four-eyed freak, and then he'll do something completely opposite.
I need someone that can draw really well to draw Iro, but with Kai's style. I think that'd be so funny.
Okay, moving on to chapter 18, Stalk to New York. Wait, Sharon was busily searching for a file in his laptop. I'm pretty sure Xing's address will be inputted in here somewhere. He definitely lives in New York. And then Mesel writes, from Diana, the laptop and its database belong to the Lee clan. Did they know Xing's real identity, and were they keeping tabs on him? And I think this is what sparked that huge discussion on the Yahoo, on the Facebook group. And then she says, another possible explanation. The Lee clan could have also been monitoring Xing because he was painting Ryurin and the sapphire ring, maybe suspected as someone who potentially had the ring. And where I fell on the whole side of things is like, oh, they definitely know he has the ring, but the reason why like they left it with him instead of taking it for it themselves is because like at the end of the day it is a Reed treasure, and they didn't want someone like Kara come steal it from them. So right now it's safe with Xing, and as long as they're keeping tabs on him, they have no reason to like swipe it. Okay. Next quote is, well, I got a parcel from Hong Kong around 20 years ago. Then Mesel asks, did Keisuke move to New York after those events / university? When did he and Miara get married? And then she answers her own questions. So from KM Origins, married after Ryurin and Nadeshiko died. And then she writes, maybe he was working at an NYC branch of the Kinhoshi Electronics and Technology Division at some point. Comtech is the company name. His brother is president during the New York saga. Yeah, it's true. His brother does live there. So considering that his brother lives there, then it's probably that it's probable that he also has a location there.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Cool.
So next up we have chapter 19, Dazzling Countdown. Instead, a cloaked figure stood there, blocking her from reaching Shaoran. The cloaked figure turned around. In one hand was a hangman's noose, and in the other was a gold-hilted knife. Shaoran's knife, covered with blood. Whose blood? Broken flowered crimson petals swirled around her, drowning her in the repulsive smell of dried blood, silvery and salty. And instead of gazing up at a cloaked figure, she gazed up into the face of a jeering skeleton. And Mesel says, foreshadowing, the Death Tarot card. Well, I think it was mostly the stalker, right?
Yeah, look at her next notes.
Yeah. Wait, this is... Oh. Wait, this is probably the stalker, but interesting to analyze.
Well, you definitely piqued Melanie's interest.
Yeah, I hear tarot card, and I'm definitely interested. Because, yeah, the death and the tarot, it does have a cloak, but as we'll talk about probably in the future, the death tarot card actually doesn't mean literal death.
Mm-hmm.
The death, when you get death in tarot, it means like the end of a situation or the conclusions happening. So, I mean, I guess it would kind of make sense for her to have that dream and it be the death tarot card because things are about to come to conclusion. So, okay. Anyway. Didn't she know that the knife was the one and only remaining gift that his father had given him when he was a child? What was he supposed to do? And Mesel says, tell her those things. She can't read your mind yet. And preach.
Yeah, seriously, all caps, all caps. This is pretty much like the Song of Sharon, like all of Arc 1, even Arc 2. It's like the amount of stuff that this boy is keeping from poor Sakura.
That's why, like, I was joking, I think it was our last episode, that maybe the big bad is the communication card.
If only.
Communication. Then we have pretty necklace. It's very unique. Edon picked the star crystal necklace off her neck, now revealed by the scoop of the neck of her dress. And Mesel says, imagine you find someone casually wearing a 5-force treasure you thought lost to eternity. Sir, confused math lady meme.
I know, that's so funny. The thing is, though, that line probably went over my head, so I'm glad Mesel took the time to highlight it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't think we mentioned that at all.
No, we definitely didn't talk about that, that's for sure.
I think we were mostly like, oh, Edon's being creepy again,
yeah.
like pawing at her like breast area. And then last we have, as it tried to dissolve into the air, Sharon pierced his 5-force sword into its back, pinning it clearly down. And Mesel says, before 5-force treasures were ever mentioned, LOL, or the Great Five.
That's a good catch. That went over my head too. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I don't think Diana said that either.
Yeah, I think it's the first time I'm noticing that Wish-chan, she had it in her head, but she hasn't didn't unfold it.
Yeah. Yeah, very good catch, Mesel.
Okay, and then we end with chapter 20, Picture the Past. But when her husband died and her son disappeared, her mental control slipped. She could no longer resist the disease that had been ailing her for years, and she collapsed. Naturally, she blamed it on your mother. And Mesel writes, was the resentment due to Miara's mental instability? Since she willingly took part of the plague in her body. And that's an interesting comment to make, because I do remember that Miara does take the plague inside her body, and it's like she only took a small piece compared to what Nadeshiko and Ryuren took on. And I think maybe to make sense, maybe if we're going to rationalize this, I'm going to say that, like, at the time being, yes, she's ready to do one for the team. But then after watching, like, her life crumble, it'll be easy to just blame somebody. And she's not going to blame, like, Ryuren, who she's, like, pretty much in love with. But it's just easier to put the blame on Nadeshiko.
Well, and I think we also need to remember they're literal still children when all this is going down too. Like, you know, you're not going to have the emotional maturity that you have when you're in your 30s or even in your 20s, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure I blamed friends for stuff when I was that age that was absolutely not correct, you know? So I think that's important to remember as well.
Yeah, maybe Ariel's being a bit dramatic.
Him?
It's it's like, naturally she blamed it on your mother. I'm like, harsh.
Naturally she blamed it on your mother.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's definitely interesting interesting to pick up. And but Miara's sick. She's lonely. She's not herself. She's pretty much already shunned Miho at this point. It's pretty heartbreaking. Yeah. She's not in a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this concludes Mesel's Kindle's notes from Arc 1. The next episode, we're going to be diving into Arc 2, and I'm having so much fun. It's like, I know that we've done the deep dive, I know that we've revisited Diana's comments, but like I said from the top, it's like, this community is all about people's different point of views, and the New Trials of, like, Wish-chan's New Trials is just so dense, and it's so rich that we can pretty much talk about the same thing in 5 different ways.
So true, so true. And for whatever reason, if you guys aren't for sure why we're doing the hiatus and stuff, it's because I am currently recording Arc 3 of the fan fiction right now for the audiobook. And for those of you that may or may not know, the chapters are getting a little bit longer.
A little bit is an understatement.
So it's taking me quite a while to get through it, but it's slow going, but once I get about more than halfway point, then we'll start picking back up again. But I think we've all proven ourselves in our fandom that we are all extremely patient and understanding.
Oh yeah. And I'm having a lot of fun during this hiatus. It's getting more. It's all about the Alliance of the Stars. At the end of the day, it's like, you guys are giving us content. You guys are great.
Exactly.
That concludes another episode. You've been listening to New Trials, the podcast, where it must rain for there to be a rainbow.
You've been listening to New Trials, the podcast. Please be sure to check out the audiobook version of this fan fiction that you can find anywhere that you can find this podcast, where you can now listen to a completed Arc 1 and 2. You're welcome. I will not be able to sing that after Arc 3 because my voice will be gone. Also, please be sure to check out Facebook, where a big part of our discussions happen nowadays. And if you also leave us very large PDF files of all your wonderful comments, hey, we might make an episode about you too. And stick around next time, where we're going to dive back into Mesel's comments for Arc 2.